All right, let's get into it, guys. I got to go.
Why? What do you have to go for? What's so fucking important?
I have to go to
Why do you have to go?
A comedy sketch show, Andy.
Oof.
Ugh. You have to go to watch a comedy sketch show?
It's a long story. Let's talk about it later. It doesn't matter.
No, but I will say, and again, I hope it's a great comedy sketch show, and I'm sure it will be, but that is my nightmare.
All right.
I've reached the age where that is fully my nightmare. Do you guys ever look back at the things you tried to get important people to come to and feel so bad
Yeah.
about wanting people to come and see you do your silly sketches?
Every person in my life that I care about, I've begged and essentially forced to come to multiple bringer shows when I was doing stand-up, and it cost them so much money.
Yeah. Those were a bummer.
And they were brutal, yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Seth, hit it.
This is
It's already started, Yorma. I think there's a real problem, Yorma, how often you tell me to start when in my head I've started.
It's the Lonely Island podcast!
Hey guys, we're going to do a new thing this episode. We're going to do 4 digital shorts because, let's be honest,
Here it comes.
they didn't resonate. They lacked a sort of cultural stickiness that a lot of shorts had. Fair?
I think that's a really nice way to put that they all stunk.
That's the nicest way of saying it.
I don't think Body Fuzion should be lumped into that as much.
I agree. I think Body Fuzion is great, but also no credit to Andy, no credit to Yorm. You did a great job shooting it, Keith, but it is sort of...
It's polars. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Our work being called lacking cultural stickiness, that would be so nice as a review for some of this stuff.
Yeah. I will say I had a different way of saying it, and then you said, here we go, during the tee up, and I realized I had to sort of, I don't know, do sort of like a Scooby-Doo backtrack.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Because you thought the burn was coming.
Do the mean version now.
These stunk.
They all sucked.
You piece of shit! We stand by this! This is our heart's work!
They didn't stink, but first of all, because here's a really cool thing. I would have said, you know, one of the things about this era of SNL, which you guys know how I stand, where I stand, and Golden Era.
Right.
And
I always thought, you know, it was very hard for the show to be great without a really strong digital short. And here's the thing. These 4 shows, looking back on it, are great shows.
Despite us.
Yeah, despite you, which I think is healthy. That there were many times that you guys lifted up the show, and then the reality was the show could also do fine without you guys. But
strong
I want to
disagree.
start with Jeremy Piven.
Strong disagree is what I'm reading on Yorma's face right now.
Oh, I feel like I was involved in making some of these shows better. I mean, the MacGruber's in here, the first MacGruber's in here. I feel like that was good.
Oh my God, we'll get to it. This is literally like somebody trying to make an opening statement in court when the prosecution is making theirs. Guys.
Fair.
First episode we're going to talk about is January 20th, 2007. Jeremy Piven, hot off and in the middle of Entourage. A very fitting choice for a show that had a great cultural footprint, unlike the next 4 digital shorts we're going to talk about.
Listen, just keep leaving Body Fuzion out of that.
I'm not leaving Body Fuzion out of that. I'm doing the first Piven. The digital short is movie trailer.
Was that made for that show?
No, and I believe, now again, we are doing these so far apart, we have no memory. If we repeat ourselves every episode, it can't be helped.
We apologize.
But I believe it cut for dress in one of our previous podcast episodes. And I think we've even brought it up on one of the other episodes because we saw it in Cut for Dress.
This is only 1:10. Can I just watch it real quick to remind myself?
Yes.
Yeah, of
and
course.
we're going to watch your face and we're going to narrate your face as you watch it.
Yeah, you just go ahead and take off your headphones so you can't hear us.
This February, the doctor
Scalpel.
is
He's
out.
smiling.
He's smiling. He likes it.
Nurse Nancy, starring Scott
Chuckling.
Garbasiak.
30 cc's of medicine. Stat.
Now I really feel like he and I are going to go to war over whether or not it's good.
I think he's
He's like
embarrassed
really
that he likes
laughing.
it. Part of it's knowing
really
how
tight.
you're feeling, Seth. I think he's kind of coaxing the bigger chuckles. Up, some head shaking. Disappointed head shaking. Oh, well, that speaks for itself.
I do like Garbasiak.
Garbasiak's a good name.
A rare Yorm VO, too.
Scott Garbasiak, and Scott Garbasiak.
This sounds bad.
This nurse has the
Scott
cure for
Garbasiak.
what ails you.
I now pronounce you mad and right. Come on, guys. I was home.
That was a nod to Liz there
Cry at weddings.
and her love of
Nancy.
American.
Nurse Nancy.
Coming this February.
Okay.
Okay.
Short. It was short.
Very short.
I'm caught up. How'd we clear those songs, first off? I think it
know.
had Bust a Move and Who Let the Dogs Out and Boom, I Got Your Boyfriend all in it.
Yeah, we didn't care about reruns. We knew what we had, and we knew that we didn't want it to ever repeat.
So you would just throw the music out
I
there.
mean, should we kick it off, Seth? Should we talk about how we feel?
Yeah, kick it off.
I mean, I respect how hateful it is.
Yeah. I also feel, do you guys feel this way? I now think about Nutty Professor as a masterpiece.
Yes.
Never seen it.
Is that true?
Okay. I genuinely think Eddie Murphy should have won an Oscar for the first Nutty Professor movie.
I remember being in the theater, doubled over for like 8 minutes of that movie, just being like, oh my God, this is so funny.
Yes.
And it's kind of exactly what we were making fun of in that short.
The dinner table scene in the first Nutty Professor movie, I have maybe watched on YouTube as much as I've watched the bar scene from Inglourious Bastards. Like, I think it's just a perfect piece of cinema.
The craziest thing about that is that the bar scene in Inglourious Bastards is also all Eddie Murphy.
But almost too good, right? The makeup was too good.
It's too
Yeah.
good.
So one of the things is I look at it now as, oh, this was sort of a time where that was maybe viewed as
But this is based on Norbit and the Clumps, I'm assuming.
sure.
Nutty Professor's 1996. What year are we now? 2006?
07. Yeah, 07.
So a lot has happened probably since then.
A lot has happened. And probably not just Eddie Murphy film.
But I will say this, Seth, for how you can judge things occasionally, and I don't know where you're going to shake out on that. Having you say that you thought he deserved, like, makes me really happy because I really do remember being in the theater just dying. So it makes me really happy that you liked it.
Thank you for saying that.
I never saw it, as mentioned.
Let's watch it right now.
I just was like, I'm an actor. Here's an assignment. I didn't even know what the context was.
You had no idea. You're like, why should I do this? Yeah, that's what it reads in the thing. You're not owning it at all.
Yeah.
What a wonderful opportunity to play many roles.
But the meanness in it is interesting that you note, and that is what makes us like it. But it didn't come from us because we didn't write this. None of us did.
No.
Yeah.
These are some of the rare ones that did not come from us.
That's right.
Which character did you like playing the most, Andy, out of all of them?
I mean, they're like my children. I can't choose.
Gotcha.
You can't choose.
I truly didn't remember what was going to happen in this one, which is also rare. Usually they start playing, I go, oh yeah. But this one was just a total
I've forgotten
surprise.
all of it. I forgot that the name was Scott Garbasiak, which also is just makes me giggle immediately.
Yeah.
Garbasiak's good.
I forgot Yorm stole that VO money from Higgins like a motherfucking champ.
Finally.
Yeah, it really did.
I got my 400.
So again, not the most memorable, but you guys, weirdly, also the birth of a new sort of ersatz digital short, which is MacGruber.
Yes.
Now, you wrote and directed MacGruber's. You wrote him with Solomon and Forte.
Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite things that ever happened in SNL was MacGruber. And do you remember the impetus behind the first one?
The story I tell, which I think is accurate, was that it was a pitch for the Lance Armstrong show. And it was for Lance to play MacGyver's stepbrother, MacGruber, which already doesn't make any sense. And instead of diffusing bombs, he obviously doesn't use guns or anything. He just uses like little found objects, things like pieces of shit and pubic hair. So none of his assistants want to touch any of the items when he desperately needs them.
Jojo, grab that twine.
I'm on it.
Casey, gum wrapper.
Right here.
Jojo, that dog turd.
What?
The dog turd right by your foot.
I'm not picking up that dog turd.
10 seconds.
You heard her, Jojo. Give me the dog turd.
No, why do we need a dog turd?
That's my business. Now pick up the dog turd.
Just give him the dog turd.
You give him the dog turd.
Yeah, Casey, give me the dog turd.
No, I can't. I'm keeping count. 3 seconds.
Fine, I'll get the dog turd. I just hope I have enough time to...
Do you ever think, oh my God, if Lance had played instead of Forte, it would have been so much worse, and yet it would have done exactly the same at the box office?
There's the burnage we were looking for.
That's what I was talking about with the judgment earlier. I don't know what I'm going to get with you.
Maybe even a little better. There might have been like a Live Strong tie-in, and people would have been showing up to MacGruber.
Damn, slam.
Might have made more money. No, I think it's actually indicative of how little I thought of the original pitch. Was that I was just like, yeah, just like get through this, because I hated a pitch. Pitch was always like terrifying to me. You're in a big room, all of your friends, everyone from the show, all writers and cast are there, and you're a famous host, and you have to like open your mouth and try to entertain people.
And Lorne.
And Lorne.
I mean, let's remember the arbiter of taste, Lorne.
Exactly.
You know who wasn't terrified of the pitch?
Who?
Pele.
Oh.
Pele, the Brazilian soccer player.
Oh,
He dominated the
really?
pitch.
You kind of
Yeah.
went overseas with that one.
Well, he dominated the pitch.
He dominated the pitch.
He wasn't afraid of it. He couldn't wait to get out there every day.
He was cool as the proverbial cucumber.
I think the angriest I am at the long walk you just took us on is
Yes.
the way you said Pele.
Yeah, I knew it would be.
I wasn't sure. Was Pele known to be cool as a cucumber? I just didn't know.
Yeah,
if that
I
was
think under pressure.
I
something
mean, the proof is in the
specific to him.
pudding, Keeve. Bicycle kicks much?
When you watch old Pele highlights, the whole time you just hear him going, "Oh, fuck, fuck, fuck."
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
No.
I will tell you who genuinely was not afraid of the pitch was Will Ferrell. And again, I only saw his last year pitching, so he might have been nervous about pitching early on in his time in the show. I got less nervous about it the longer I was there too, because I learned the valuable lesson: the pitch doesn't matter, and you could just try to make people laugh. That was more important than actually trying to pitch a sketch. But I think I told you guys, Ferrell's last pitch, he just brought in an old-timey typewriter, and he always went last. And as Lauren was going around the room, Will was typing like he was writing down all the pitches, and it was the loudest typewriter. And so people would say, "I have an idea where," and it's like, tick, 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 tick. Really slow, really loud. And then even Lauren was smiling because I think Lauren at that point had so much confidence in Will, knowing that this wasn't a road to nowhere. And so it got all the way around the room. And then Lauren, as he always did, said, "And Will?" And Will just like turned the sides to bring the paper up. And he looked at it for a really long time. And he said, "No, I think we're good." No fear of the pitch.
Okay, well, for those of us that were terrified of it, MacGruber got a really bad reaction. My second pitch that day, I remember because that one got a groan. And then the second one was a spoof commercial for a new kind of chunky mayonnaise that also got like basically booed. And then I believe it was like another month of me trying to repitch it to Forte and be like, what if we did this though? What if you played MacGruber? And then the first one that we did for the Piven show is basically that joke. And then the only thing that I really remember that nobody clocked, but I found funny, was that his assistants, the reason that Maya Rudolph was named Casey is because the Piven's character was named JoJo. And so it was a nod to the band Casey and JoJo.
To the R&B group.
The R&B joke.
It makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, Casey, JoJo.
It was wonderful.
By the way, I want Forte to give his version of what he thinks how MacGruber came about, because that's probably different than mine.
Okay.
My recollection of how MacGruber came about. John Solomon and I were supposed to write with Yorma on a Tuesday night, and Yorma came in and pitched this idea about this character called MacGruber, who was MacGyver's younger brother, who was just pretty shitty at doing the same thing that MacGyver does. And we thought it sounded pretty dumb. So we just said, no, let's think of something else. And then a week later, we got together to write again, and Yorma pitched it again, equally as excited about it. And John and I were equally as unenthusiastic about it. And then he pitched it the next week. And then I think it was the fourth week, he frigging pitched this thing again. And we're like, okay, let's just do it just to get him to shut up and move off it. And then as we started thinking about it, and thought about it as more of a short film in 3 segments, as opposed to one segment that was a sketch, then it all fell into place. But yeah, in the very beginning, we did not have high hopes. I love you guys.
I just want to say something about this episode. So we got Nurse Nancy, which is not, going to make the Criterion collection of the digital shorts. But we have the first MacGruber, huge. We got A-Holes, huge. We got, I think, our second Blizzard Man with Common.
Yes.
Good one.
Amazing. And then also, I just want to I'm going to dip in, and I know we're going to do this a fair amount, but I really want to take a toe and place it into Seth's corner.
Oh.
Seth's Corner, you're all invited. Seth's Corner, it's happening right now. Take it away, Seth.
Weekend Update, the first really was in this Weekend Update, which is huge. Genuinely a huge moment for my time at Weekend Update. And really, never would have come up with it on my own. Was a gift from Andy Samberg.
Whoa.
That is true.
He even gave it to me at a more important time than a week where we had a show. He gave it to me when I auditioned for Weekend Update. And I was working on my audition for Weekend Update, and Andy came to my office and said, you should do a bit called Really. And I said, why? And he said, that's how you talk all the time.
I said, my favorite version of you is when you show up to the office mad about something that's happening in the world or in your life, and you get so worked up that you go, really? That's what we're doing? That's the way it's... And you always, like, when you bring that venom and it comes from your soul and you combine it with your comedy mind, it always would make me laugh the hardest you could make me laugh. I didn't remember it was before your audition, though. I thought it was after you already got Update.
No. It was because I wrote a Really for my audition.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then it says what you trotted it out for. Do you remember what it was?
It was for Michael Vick.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Vick got arrested for trying to bring weed onto a plane.
Michael Vick's alleged attempt to bring marijuana onto a plane raises many questions. Questions we will now address in a new segment on Weekend Update called Really with Seth and Amy. Michael Vick, really? You didn't want to throw your weed away before you went through security. Really? You have $117 million left on your contract. Do you know what $117 million means? You can afford to replace your weed if you have to throw it away at the airport. Really? I mean, come on, Michael. Even my dumbest high school friends know to throw their weed away at the airport, and they have no money and love weed.
And you got caught at the Miami airport. Really? You didn't think they'd check for drugs at the airport in Miami. Really?
And Seth, in return for me helping you create that, you cut 2 things of mine from Update. Looking at the rundown. Starting off a long trend of you gatekeeping me from glory in your sacred space. Only pre-tapes, Andy, he'd say as he patted me condescendingly on the head. Only pre-tapes for you, lad.
You're better with an edit pass, my child.
Wait, what got cut so we can judge whether they should have been cut?
It's just one here.
Well, I apparently helped Solomon and Forte write a Jim Caviezel piece for Will Forte. As well as a piece called Mustache, starring me, written by me, Solomon, Jost, Doug Abels, Charlie Grandy, and Bays, apparently.
Wow.
Too many people.
The full Update team.
Yeah, I know.
Do you remember what it was?
I have no idea what it was.
Mustache is you came out to give your review of the Oscars, maybe the Golden Globes. It was an award show. You came out with a mustache.
Yeah.
And pretty much only had nice things to say about actors who had mustaches. It was a lot of me noting that this was the first mustache
that I'd
grown. Seen you with. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a good premise that was also incredibly topical. Award show just had aired.
Yeah, that part was good.
But I guess not good enough.
I wrote a scene called Unicorn. You guys remember Unicorn? I had to look it back up again. It is basically the town that's voting on whether they should tear down Unicorn Forest to build a mall, and everybody wants to. And it's been clear that they all have uncountable wealth because of the magic unicorn, but they also really want a mall. Everybody's voting to tear down the unicorn. And then Polar is an elf named Periwinkle who keeps claiming you're being rash. And I can't say why I know, but I feel like if you kill that unicorn, you're all going to die.
Perhaps the unicorn is here because the forest is the last magical place on Earth, and it's warning us not to destroy it.
Thank you, Periwinkle. I think we all know how you feel about the unicorn, but it looks like you're outvoted on this one.
You know, it's a trifle, but you guys, I was very happy when I remembered how much fun Polar was playing a little elf. Oh, shoot. There's something else. Wait, there's something else that happened for the first time in this show. I can't believe we almost missed it. One of my favorites, because I got a great story about it. That'll Move the Chains.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
It's one of my favorites.
By the way, it was high in the show.
Oh, yeah. It's the primo spot after first commercial break.
It's the first sketch.
Yeah, it was super high. It's NFL commentators. Sandberg, Jost, Murray. Primo spot. You were a kid who had won a contest to go into the booth.
Yes.
To be a live broadcast at an NFL game. And you said that'll move the chains no matter what had just happened.
That's right.
Lead along the sideline to Reggie Wayne. First down, Colts.
That'll move the chains.
It certainly will, Danny. Wow, looks like someone's been brushing up on his football terminology. Nice job, Danny.
I'm trying.
Now it's Manning on the quick snap. Hands to Adea. And he picks up about 4 yards.
That'll move the chains.
Well, not this time, Danny. The chains actually only move on a first down.
Great effort, though, Danny.
Yeah.
Manny back under center. Drops back. He's got Harrison deep.
That'll move the chains.
And the pass falls incomplete.
And the chains move.
No.
And it worked pretty well.
It did. It played nice. I feel like people still, like, once every 5 years will say that to me.
Yeah. I mean, I can't hear That'll Move the Chains without thinking about it. So I feel like that's a win on your... But my favorite story about it, which I often tell, and we'll get to it, because I think it aired. 2 months later, maybe even less, you came into my office and I said, what are you working on this week? And you said, we're thinking about doing another That'll Move the Chains. And I said, another? Because it did not strike me as a recurring character. It struck me as a premise piece. And so I said, another. And do you remember what you said to me?
No.
You said, we don't all have fucking update every week. Which was like 80% doing a bit, but I could tell 20% you were a little mad. The guy who got to just get 10 minutes a week was being all judgy about you trying to rebuild That'll Move the Chains.
Didn't we do a second one, though?
Yes, it was basketball, and I think it was from downtown, maybe.
Or Nothing But the Bottom of the Net, maybe?
That might be it. It was a very novel reimagining.
I feel like you got That'll Move the Chains back in there, too.
Probably said That'll Move the Chains.
Yeah.
I wonder if we got in, Yorm, you know how much I wanted to say this on something. Thunder Dan is en fuego from downtown.
Yeah, that was like your main thing.
Yeah, with a lisp, though.
Thunder Dan is
is en fuego. Thunder Dan Marley. He can't miss.
Man, it always got me. Still does.
Support comes from Game Time. Yorm, you love a concert.
I can't stop loving concerts. Thanks, Seth.
One of the greatest concerts I ever saw in my life. You know what it was?
Was it my brother's band?
It was the Lonely Island concert. Yorm.
Oh, I like those guys, too.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And if you love going to concerts or other events, you know, I can tell you one of my favorite things to do is using Game Time because it makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster, easier, even if you don't buy tickets right away. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to showtime. So for guys like you and I, who maybe make our decision late in the game, all of a sudden an evening opens up for us.
Yeah, which it never does. It's a swamp.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden you're like, look, what are we going to do? We just going to stay at home and watch TV? Or we get to go to the Game Time app and look at that. One of the bands we love is doing a concert locally. We should go check it out.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yorm says that more than anything else.
Let's do it.
It's the lowest price guarantee. There's event cancellation protection, job loss protection. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LONELY for 20% off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LONELY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Yorm, say Game Time like you're a high school basketball coach. You're down 10. You're about to go back out on the court, and you want to inspire your team with the way you say it.
Come on, everybody, it's game time!
Very well done. Support for Lonely Island comes from Babbel. Yorm, you're a world traveler.
I am. I'm in Finland right now as we speak.
I feel like every time I'm looking for you, you're in another country. And look, you can walk around town and you can maybe learn how they say hello, how they say goodbye, how they say, sir, you're in the bike lane. Because I know you like to just set up shop in the middle of a bike lane.
I do what I want.
Yorm, there's an easier way, though. If you want to learn a new language, you absolutely should get Babbel.
Oh.
Be a better you. Be a better you, Yorm, in 2024 with Babbel. It's a science-backed language learning app that actually works. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons. They're handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. So Yorm, next time I'm going to go visit you in one of your exotic locales, I'm going to do a little Babbel first. I'm going to put aside some time so that when I show up, we can converse in the native tongue.
Treat yourself to 60% off on me, Seth.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/lonely. 60% off at babbel.com/lonely, spelled babbel.com/lonely. Rules and restrictions may apply. Yorm, say Babbel like you are in a river and you're gasping for breath because you can't swim.
Moi moi. That's goodbye in Finnish.
All right, moving on. Next show, Drew Barrymore, February 3rd, 2007. Digital short. This one came from Amy Poehler. And it's listed as workout video, but what would you think of it as if you gave it a title, Akiva?
Body Fusion.
Yeah, Body Fuzion.
Body Fusion.
I think it was just confusing or came in late, and so we just called it workout video.
Let's tone our arms. You can use weights or any household item. For a more advanced workout, use 1 pound hand weights.
Or pesos.
Or air.
Body Fusion is wonderful. It is an 80s style workout video. And Akiva, this is one of the first times I heard you describing the process of making something where I was hella, to use the West Coast term, impressed.
Thanks for that.
It has a grainy VHS quality. And I remember you saying, did you shoot it and then transfer it to VHS and then sort of crumple the tape?
Yeah, it was experimental, and I was really proud of having thought of it. There were some old VHS decks still at SNL that weren't really plugged in. And we went and dug them out. And then we shot it on the normal kind of studio cameras, but at a good frame rate that looks like old stuff. And then we copied it onto VHS tapes, and we copied it onto them at different speeds. You remember when you used to do VHS and there'd be the 2-hour version that was like, pretty high quality, and then the EP and then the LP, like for 4 hours or 6 hours. And we took 3 different tapes and just recorded it at 3 different speeds. So it went from, good to bad to worse. And then there was one where I did it and then touched the tape and did all the stuff you're not. And it was like tracking all over the place. And then we digitized them all back in and put them on top. And then shot to shot, I just chose how messed up to make it on every shot. And it worked so well. Because back then, people would just still do like a VHS effect. And you could always tell it was fake. And I got called by people asking how I did it, what plugin I used.
I remember also being impressed when you suggested doing it. And that SNL had machines.
Yeah, it's obvious when you think about it, but...
I was going to say, I thought it was obvious.
Yeah, thank you.
Anytime there is that plugin or that effect, if you watch it long enough, you can tell it's an effect. And the great thing about this was because you had done it manually, there was a unpredictability to it that made it so authentic and great. And I remember it was one of those that was beloved without necessarily having a ton of laughs in it. You just felt everybody watching it was enjoying it so much.
Just having rewatched, actually, there was more laughs than I was expecting, because what you just said was my memory of it as well. That people just were being charmed by their performances and their little looks they're giving each other and stuff. But then I was surprised to actually hear some actual laughs in there as well.
I think it's a very special one, Body Fusion. I do put it in the Criterion collection for its uniqueness.
Yeah, exactly, because it's so different from everything else.
And it was such a fun idea.
There's a reason it made it into the 100th digital short, the roundup recap of all things we were proud of.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Did you see the Body Fusion ladies for a second?
Body Fusion lady.
Body Fusion, not just because of the style of it, but because Polar had a good idea. And now when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen 100 things like this. But at that moment, it felt like, in my opinion, like a new thought to have.
Yes.
On her part, and then Keeve's delivery of it.
Yeah. The concept of that the exercise videos have the lady doing the hard version, the medium version, and the easy version. I didn't even know that existed in exercise videos.
Yes.
And she had to explain to me what it was. And now, as someone who's lived 20 more years, I've seen those videos. Pretty accurate.
Also a show that had some historical significance. I'm pretty sure the first Dakota Fanning show, which was a fun little impression for Polar over the years to do and gave hosts fun things to do. There was a great Donatella. There was Target Lady. It was a good show.
Still, good show though.
Oh, there's a really fun Smoked Sausages where I'm pretty sure it's Drew Barrymore as her character from Firestarter cooking sausages on a grill.
All grown up.
All grown up.
Why not?
A very deep cut because, again, by 2007, I believe Firestarter is probably 20 plus years old.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like we would have wrote it.
Yeah, that wasn't our idea.
Yeah, that's our territory.
Hi, I'm Charlie McGee, but you probably know me better as Firestarter. That was a long time ago, and now I've got something that I'm really excited about. Firestarter brand smoked sausages.
Firestarter brand smoked sausages, cooked in fires. She starts with her mind.
Then we have Forrest Whitaker, you guys. The Forrest Whitaker show, the digital short, is Andy Poppingen frame.
Here we go. Let's talk about it.
Talk me through it.
Can we first just talk about how wonderful Forrest Whitaker was?
Sure.
Yes.
Let's distract from the fact that we made Andy popping into frame.
That was my intention. Why are you doing that to your compadre?
I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed watching it.
Let's remember that we're editing Hot Rod. This is crunch time editing Hot Rod.
Sure.
We're talking February 2007. We have a summer release date.
Sure.
I begged Lauren every week to just let me not come in and let me just keep editing.
Mm-hmm.
And the one week he let me do it was the Jeremy Piven show of the whole season.
Yes.
And I remember it so clearly because I wasn't there that whole week.
That was Nurse Nancy?
Yes. And that's why they dug out Nurse Nancy from back in November from the
It
Ludacris
had
show.
already been made. Yeah.
And I was doing MacGruber, so I was distracted.
Maybe we had a test screening or something coming up and he was like, okay, fine, you can miss this week. And I did not come in at all for that one. When you guys did Blizzard Man with Common, I just read the script on the couch at the editing room and that was it.
That was the only one that he let you off for. Only one.
Yes. In my memory, yes. But it was a big deal. When he said it, it was like a snow day for a kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like it was like, oh my God, I just got the whole week.
I get to work on the movie.
I can work.
that you're also producing.
Yeah.
I can't believe how much you remember sometimes, Keeve. It's all a big schmooey blob to me.
It's just specific. I didn't remember the Nurse Nancy stuff until right now. But the Piven one, I remember not being there because it was weird to not be there for a week.
Seth, do you remember every guest that's been on your show, like vividly?
No.
Okay.
Weird.
Well, you admit it.
Yeah, I do admit it.
Okay, but Akiva, for Andy popping into frame, you said earlier that you thought that this was groundbreaking at the time. I'm paraphrasing what you said.
Well, to be willing to be this naked on screen, I mean,
Oh,
this
gotcha.
unprotected by the written word or jokes.
Right,
Or,
that it was almost punk rock.
yeah. It was, let me go into something that I forget to do. The comments. This is comment number 1 on the YouTube channel from 3 years ago.
Is it Andy's cute? Because that's what I got out of
They
it.
let this man do whatever he wanted, and I love it. That is the punk rock thing, is that it was like, hey, we're going to do whatever we want, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even as we were making that one, we knew it wasn't that great.
You're like, is this enough?
It was experimental.
It was going to be all style, and it was going to be more like kind of the interstitial stuff we had shot for Awesome Town. And I believe one of us, possibly even me, said out loud while we were cutting it, people who don't like me are going to really hate this.
Well, I think, to be fair, I think that's also because you do look kind of cute.
Oh, Yorm.
You do look cute.
You're pretty cute on screen. Like, I'm like, oh, look at that adorable guy. And if I didn't like you, I'd be like, fuck this guy.
I agree. Yorm, I'm going to tell you, one of my biggest takeaways from watching this was, damn, Andy was handsome. I was endeared to him at the time, or else I would have hated him too.
Y'all are nice.
It's also like the show is so polished that sometimes we would go, what if we do something that is premiseless?
Yeah.
That is very unpolished and like play with expectations. It's almost good. You feel it working because it does the thing. It goes fast pop, fast pop, fast pop, fast pop. So that your brain goes, okay, he's going to pop in. And then it goes to a wide and you're searching the screen and you're searching and you know it is doing something right.
Yeah.
Because it is telling a cadence of playing with expectations. And then he pops in somewhere and you're like, okay, it's teaching me a game visually. The same way, and I remember us talking about it, that we were basically making something that would be on Sesame Street when we were doing it.
That's what it feels like.
And when Forte comes in, I'm like, okay, and they're heightening, and that really works. And then I'm like, okay, if they've got another Forte up their sleeve, I'm going to be with this because it's like doing every variation on a theme. It's like in the film Amadeus. Remember when the guy that's not as good, Salieri or whatever, comes in and he's been working on something for years.
Yes.
And Mozart's like, oh, that's a really cool melody. And he's like, or you could do it like this, or you could do it like this. And he does like 10 variations on the theme immediately in a way that would take this other guy obviously a year to figure out.
Just watched it. Total accurate description of the scene.
This is exactly what we were doing, only we only thought of like 3 variations.
Yeah.
And so it was like a third of a Mozart, maybe.
You're right. You're right. If it had heightened after that, I think I would have liked it a lot more. And this was this the beginning of us doing like a stupid beat that I had made kind of thing? Like, because we ended up doing this kind of thing a bunch of times. Like,
Yes, we ended up doing 2 more. We did Punch Before Eating and we did the Extreme Competition.
Which I like both of those better, but there's a lot more to laugh at in those.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first MacGruber wasn't as good as the later ones either, right?
That's true. Yeah.
I've been notified, Seth, that there was an out-of-breath jogger cut from this episode.
From 1933.
You want me to hit you with a little taste? Because it never aired.
Yeah. Well, before you read it, Andy, let me just say, I'm devastated at our choice. And I'm sure when I hear it now, I will realize that this would have changed the trajectory of the show.
Now a moment with the out-of-breath jogger from 1933. It would be me in a 30s full piece swimsuit.
Sure.
That's what joggers would wear, a swimsuit.
Yeah.
Whew, this depression's the worst, huh? You see that movie, King Kong, the first one? Supposed to be awesome. This Adolf Hitler character seems to be stirring up a lot of trouble. I'm sure it'll pass. Tell you who my favorite baseball team is right now, the 1933 New York Yankees. I'm having trouble breathing. You know what rules? Having 48 states. It's the best. Al Capone. That was the end. Al Capone.
The idea that they would cut something that's like a minute long is a little unfair.
I don't even know which one of those is supposed to get a laugh. Because again, the out of breath jogger from the 80s, like 80s jogger already is funny.
Yeah.
Also, 80s references are ones that are a little bit more fun to hear, certainly in the mid 2000s. And now you go back to 19. It's really funny that you tried.
Okay, but the speed at which jokes would be coming at you and the look of it would be black and white.
Mhm.
It would be old-timey footage. But why cut something that is just a little fun pop like that? You know what I mean?
Probably because it died and we had better stuff, is my guess.
Yeah.
Keith Urban went over.
I have a memory of something else that got cut in the Forrest Whitaker show that I wrote called Meet the Boss. Do you guys remember Meet the Boss?
Oh, I remember this
I
vividly.
love this sketch. I was so sad when
The King of Scotland sketch.
Oh.
Yes. Forrest Whitaker was hosting on the back of Last King of Scotland, for which he was Oscar nominated. And I wrote a sketch where Idi Amin was the new boss at a mid-level office.
By the way, it fucking destroyed at the table.
I quote it all the time.
Destroyed at the table.
Yes.
I will not, on this podcast, do my impression of Forrest Whitaker's Idi Amin because I feel as though nobody wants that.
Really?
I mean, I would desperately want it, but I think it's a good call
Yes.
not to.
But if you can imagine, it was a lot of Forrest Whitaker's Idi Amin being upset that someone ate his yogurt, even though he had labeled it.
Yeah, I quote it to my kids all the time.
And the part about it that I still feel a little bad about is obviously Forrest Whitaker is an actor of an incredible skill. There is a heft he brings to his performances. There is work he goes into finding a character. And I think he took a journey to find a place to play Idi Amin. And then for me to immediately make it a sketch character, he had a lot of questions about, is it funny for this character to be saying this stuff? And the only feedback I ever gave him was like, yeah, but just like do it like Idi Amin.
He was giving an Oscar caliber Idi Amin for Who Ate His Yogurt.
Oh,
it was so funny.
It was so funny.
And how did it play at Dress?
Not great. I should say it didn't play great, but also it maybe would have gone, and I have nothing but respect for this choice. You could tell it just wasn't that much fun for him, and it was better not to do it.
I think that's why I liked it, though, because he was actually giving sort of more of a dramatic performance.
It was that.
I'm going to say something that is my theory and was my theory at the time. Our SNL audience 100% had not seen that movie.
Yeah.
And that was the problem.
Right.
There's a scene in that movie where James McAvoy, as his doctor, gets called in for an emergency. Do you remember? And then he takes a baseball bat, holds it across his stomach, Idi Amin's stomach, and just applies pressure. And he lets out a gigantic fart. And that's when they kind of fall in love. And he's like, "You're my guy now." And that's the story of that. It's all based on a fart.
It's also one of the longest farts that you've ever seen on film, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like it's like a 30-second fart.
It's very long, and the entire relationship is predicated on that fart. It's a very serious Oscar movie where they're like, and the inciting incident is a fart. And it's true.
I will say another thing I cannot hear without thinking about this show and Forrest Whitaker is the Elton John song, "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me." Do you remember the scene where Forrest Whitaker is a waiter? He's a singing waiter, and he keeps singing it, and he keeps singing it going up one octave each time. And the thing I remember about Forrest Whitaker is he keeps singing, instead of "Don't Let the Sun," he keeps saying "Do Not," which is a really...
I feel like, is that a James Anderson?
No, Paula Pell and John Lutz.
Okay.
But Forrest Whitaker keeps getting higher and higher and singing, "Do not let the sun." And he left a mark. Forrest Whitaker left a mark on me. Also in this show, Yorma, Sloth.
Oh, we didn't even talk. That's like is that a digital short?
No.
I would have counted. You would not count it just because it didn't have the slate?
It didn't have the tag on it.
I would count it because I helped Jorm work on it too. If Body Fuzion counts, it should count.
It came exclusively out of our office.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the shortest little piece of animation. The joke being that it's a documentary that was sent in to a wildlife channel that's being given to them by a group of students at Staten Island Technical High School. And then they play the video and it's supposed to be about sloths and it's supposed to be educational, but the person who's presenting it hasn't seen it yet. And it's Kristen Wiig who's presenting it. And she hasn't seen it, but she's heard it's very educational. And then it breaks very quickly into a sort of aggressive rock, metal-y kind of song. And then horrifyingly bad animation that I did on Final Cut of sloths like shooting Uzis. And
I feel like stylistically it was kind of the precursor to O'Brien's Insane Clown Posse thing.
Yeah. It had a lot of that fast pace, I think.
Can I just say one thing about sloths real quick?
Please.
First of all, Keeve, I remember distinctly you saying that this was reductive and that it was too much like a commercial and you didn't want me to do it. And then after I spent 5 days of 12 hours a day of doing animation, you were like, yeah, it's pretty good. I don't know if you remember.
Okay, well, apologies. I remember the part saying it was pretty good, but I didn't remember the negative part.
Yeah, you thought it was like a squirrel thing. There was some squirrel advertisement that you were like, you can't do this because it's like these squirrels. What I learned making the sloth thing was the song was made. I had done all this animation for these sloths being crazy and clearly not acting like sloths. And then I remember Jost was like, you need some context for this. So you got to put a top and a tails on this of like how this is being presented. And I remember it being like a real aha moment of comedy of like, oh yeah, the audience is not going to get any of this without some context.
By the way, it's the exact same thing that happened on Lasercats, but you hadn't learned it yet, I guess.
Burn.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Andy, since we can hear it, can you play it real quick so we can listen to Sloth?
And today I'd like to talk about some very special animals that don't get much attention. Sloths. They're furry, they have 2 or 3 toes, and yes, they're very, very slow. Luckily, we just received a brand new documentary on these adorable creatures from a group of students at Staten Island Technical High School. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's a real eye-opener. Let's check it out.
We sleep 18 hours, but we always party 24. Packed in packs and we eat algae up our burp. We got 3 toes, but we'll pound 3,000 Bud Light. Break your nose and kick your face in a punch fight. We eat bamboo, but prefer your girl. Shake your mom with the pterodactyl bone. Hire a dog to burn down a hospital. Eat cocaine off America's gravestone. Don't call us slow. Don't call us slow. Kill all of your friends and ride their corpses like a carousel. Put your inside, I'll kill you if you ever tell.
That was not entirely accurate.
This has been a message from the Staten Island Zoo.
Hey, Jost VO.
Well, it was a Staten Island Technical High School because that's where his dad worked. So he wanted to give it a little shout out to his dad.
Even better than I remember, gentlemen.
Yeah, I forgot me and Suds were on it.
Yeah,
on the track.
You guys are rocking it.
Incredible heightening on the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
shank your mom with a pterodactyl dick bone.
I'm pretty sure that was you, Andy. And then I was Murray. Did Matt Murray do America's Gravestone? Do cocaine off America's Gravestone?
It has a real Natalie's Rap heightening to how quickly it gets terrible. In that, those are things you should never say.
Yes, it starts to go off the rails pretty quickly.
Did you see the comment about the America's Gravestone is the best Beck Odelay line that was never recorded? Really good. It's a really good YouTube comment.
That's a good comment.
So, you know what? I'll just say, Andy popping into frame, a little soft, kind of has 2.5 beats.
Yeah.
Sloss puts its foot to the gas and just never lets up and is just perfect.
It's much more on brand for us, frankly.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't remember that it was a song with lyrics either, which I think, Yorm, correct me if I'm wrong, progressed throughout the week.
No, we had to make it first because I had to animate to it.
Oh.
We actually recorded it really early on in the week because I was animating all week. It took forever because I was animating in Final Cut, which is not an animation program.
Right.
The part that really got me, Orm, that I had fully forgotten about was cutting to Sloth from Goonies shredding on electric guitar.
And the audience all completely understood it for some reason, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when we were young and our references were their references.
Yeah.
I did a bit during the pandemic. I think it was during the pandemic where I said that I had been going to impression camp. And the first rule of impression camp is don't do sloth. That there's no way. Doing sloth now would be on par with me trying to do Idi Amin. Even if it's a perfect sloth, people would say, "What are you doing?"
You'd be like, no, but have you seen Goonies? It's a great sloth.
You guys probably remember that Keenan and Joe shared an office and had a Goonies poster on the door. Do you remember that? That it just hung there forever?
Yeah.
And when Josh Brolin hosted, he walked up, he's like, there I am. Like, he's so young in Goonies that I even forgot.
Yes.
I was like, oh, right, that is you. I've been looking at you every day that I've gone to Joe's office.
He was such a hunk.
He just became a different kind of handsome.
Guys, we're going to wrap it up with the fourth quarter here. It's the Rainn Wilson Show. Rainn Wilson, the digital short, is business meeting.
Daniel, what do you think? Well, sir, our online division is hemorrhaging money. I say we lose it.
Okay. Peter?
I gotta go with Dan here.
Derek?
I'd lose tech support.
Okay. Red?
Downsize research.
Water guy?
I don't work here.
Right. Derek's twin brother?
I agree with what Derek said.
Mountain Joe?
Well, we could consolidate marketing.
Snake Eyes?
Scale back IT.
Chief Big Cloud?
Long before Sister
Not now, Gary.
Sorry.
I enjoyed watching Business Meeting because it highlights that wonderful cast, but it does end in a real Seth unfriendly way.
Not surprisingly, it ends in a real MacGruber.
There was no ending, so a building just explodes.
Collapsing building.
Yeah.
Not my favorite.
Did it air after MacGruber, the first MacGruber?
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's bad.
Did you use that building ever in a MacGruber, the stock shot?
No, because MacGruber is always exploding.
Yeah, that was a detonation.
Oh, this was the demolition.
It's the same idea, obviously.
By the way, there's a strong chance at that point that none of us are thinking there's going to be another MacGruber.
True.
So we probably thought it was like a funny callback to MacGruber, is my guess.
Yeah.
This was a Taccone Jost Sandberg joint.
It was?
I remember, though, that Seth did a lot. I think I directed this one, didn't I?
You did direct it. And it was fun. And Rainn Wilson's very good in it. And all of our cast is really good in it. And Shoemaker's son, Austin, is in it. And Shoemaker is in it.
That's right.
And I like that about it. There's some good jokes.
This was another one, Yorm, where I was so busy trying to edit, but I did come in. I was in that room, but you guys had wrote it. You were in charge of it. And I came in, I remember, and we just talked eye lines a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's kind of complicated. And it was like, oh, no, here's the rule. If you shoot Rainn straight down the middle, so when he turns to the left, he's looking camera left. He turns to the right, he's looking camera right. Then you can just shoot everybody on this side this way, and this way, and you never have to worry about it.
That's right.
And I remember us working it all out.
Yeah, because there's a lot of like people who appear and then disappear, so thing as other characters.
Yes, which I really like that thing too.
Yeah, and it all works pretty well.
I like the Arcade Fire cameo. Made me happy, I will say.
I also had that delicious turkey sub puppet in my house forever until it fell apart.
And the tiger, wasn't the tiger like on the wall in our office?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The head.
Mounted tiger head.
Yeah.
Who didn't come prepared for the meeting.
Also, I want to give a shout out to another beginning of a franchise Danny song, which were those really fun sing-along songs that Sudeikis and Tucker wrote, and was Andy, Sudeikis, Bill, and Forte. Those were always good times.
Yeah. There's also a really good Yoram dances along to Arcade Fire, what would have been now a TikTok
Oh, yeah.
or an Instagram story reel where we would use a small digital camera, like a photo camera, because phones couldn't even take video back then. And we would do a little video of Yorm dancing to the musical guest during rehearsals. And we did a good one with Arcade Fire.
I was in my underwear, I believe, for that one.
Yeah. You also can't do that probably anymore.
Guys, I was watching Business Meeting. What'd I miss?
No, then we're just talking about me getting naked in front of Arcade Fire.
Oh, yeah.
So, guys, as we sort of finish up here, I just want to say, we've finished 4 shows.
Mm-hmm.
And again, maybe Sloth, as we look back, I would say Sloth and Body Fuzion would be ones you'd want to talk about years later.
Mm-hmm.
But also great work was done outside of the digital shorts. This is the dawn of an era where we get value from you guys that's not just your precious little videos. Andy, Blizzard Man.
Yeah.
Andy, Danny's song. You know, and obviously, ideally, there'd be a third, but...
What is Danny's song?
He just talked about it when you were watching Business
Oh,
Meeting.
yeah, you were watching something. Sudeikis' sing-along songs. You, Bill, Will, and Sudeikis singing in a bar. Remember you would tell stories and then you would...
Oh, yeah.
They were great.
But we didn't write that. Isn't that Tucker?
Yeah, I was saying Sudeikis and Tucker. I was saying, but you're in him.
Yeah.
And you're really good.
No, thanks.
You guys, I really have to go. I'm sorry.
We all have to go. You guys, this has been episode 17. We're going to do 3 shorts in the next episode, which is going to bring us to the end of your second season.
Ooh.
So join us next week as we talk about all those digital shorts. And this is cool. Yorma's going to tell us what was so fucking important that he had to jump off the pod. See you next week.